Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome to the Life Hacker Show. I'm your host, Jason Wojo. On the Life Hacker Show, we help people make more, work less, and create lives and businesses they loved. I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Polish Peter. What's up, dude?
I want to say the one and only because I see you spreading some propaganda on the internet about other people looking for a third host and things like that.
Did you just say the internets? Like that's like saying
internets. Yes,
that's like that would be like my grandmother saying the Facebook or the like.
Hey, I make up my own words just like you do. I mean, who says that you can only make up your own words?
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Dude, and I think you made up one in this particular episode. I
did. And speaking of that, dude, this is an awesome podcast episode. We got Bob Burg, the author, co-author of the GoGiver. I'm holding up the book right now. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, I got my book right in front of me. And I go through this. It's all highlighted and underlined. Dude, this book, now it's fine. You know, we already talked to John David Mann, the co-author of this book, and him and his wife. You'll remember a few episodes. We did an episode on the GoGiver marriage, which is awesome. Go check out that episode. In this episode, we're talking with Bob about the book, about the principles of how it applies to life, to business, to sales. Dude, this is if you have not read this book, you need to get it. Like, this is an incredible seminal book.
Yeah, I mean, who would have thunk that me and you would be interviewing Bob Burg, the guy who wrote the big book, GoGiver. I remember reading this book a while back, and I was like, man, this is freaking awesome. It's amazing. So one of the things I want you guys to listen to this episode for is a couple of things you mentioned. You mentioned about the actual GoGiver book, how it came about. And then two, he talked about how do we actually, when somebody comes in and says, hey, you know what? Yeah, GoGiver, it's fine, but how does this actually work in sales? And how do I actually have those kinds of conversations? He gives a brilliant example. He kind of distills it into two different types of conversations to see which one will work more. And I will tell you this, if you apply this, what he just saying in that video, I believe, and I would put my money on it, that your sales are going to go up if you are in sales.
Yep. Well, and it's not just for salespeople too, because these principles he used as an example.
In relationships,
you can very easily see how it can apply to other areas as well. Let's go to the interview right now. Bob Burg. Here we go. Bob, welcome to Life Hacker Show. Thank you so much for being here, man. This is such an incredible honor and privilege. I am so psyched to have you with us.
The honor is mine. Jason and Peter, thank you both for having me with you.
This is amazing. So for our listeners that are not familiar with Bob, first of all, like I'm shocked. You really gotta find out. This is a man who I believe is and Bob, this is kind of putting it lightly, I think, but like your and it was actually, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is the GoGiver, was that your first book?
No, I had a few out before that, but they were all how-to books. The GoGiver and the ensuing books were the first ones that were parables and that were co-authored with the wonderful author John David Mann, who we're all friends with.
Well, because I'll tell you, because that book, I didn't realize that was the first book that really hit me upside the head.
Yep.
In a way that I had never experienced, and I don't know if it was, I mean, of course, I love the way you delivered it in a parable, because I think people, enjoy a story, but the lessons in that book, I believe every business owner, every entrepreneur, and actually even if you're not in business, like it's such a universal principle. Thank you. How in the world did you, how'd you come up with this? This isn't just a little, like, this was a seminal piece of work. It truly was.
It was, well, first I was very blessed in that I grew up with great parents who I think embodied these principles, even though it's not something that were, enumerated or anything. I just got to see, who they were and so how they acted. And John also, from what I understand, had wonderful parents who set a great example. So that, that's always, of course, helpful. As you grow up, you start to see different ways of people doing things. Some are, things you want to emulate, and others are things you don't want to emulate. And you begin to see, when you make a study of success and success principles and the people who are successful sustainably and those who aren't, you get to, kind of see these things and experiment yourself, and you see how things come together. So I had a book out years ago called Endless Referrals. The subtitle was Network Your Everyday Contacts into Sales. This was back in the day in which there weren't a whole lot of books on networking and relationship building out there. So this was back in the early to mid 90s. And it was really, again, it was a how-to book. And it was on how entrepreneurs and salespeople who loved what they did. They knew they had a great product or service that brought wonderful value to people, but they didn't maybe feel comfortable, confident going out into their communities and developing the kinds of relationships that would cause people to want to buy from them and or refer them to others. So it was it's a system. I define a system as the process of predictably achieving a goal based on a logical and specific set of how-to principles, right? Mm-hmm. And so it was a system for developing those know, like, and trust relationships that would result in being able to really build your business in a way that, someone who didn't necessarily consider themselves to be extroverted or whatever could go out and do that. So, but throughout the years, I'd always enjoyed reading business parables. I think we all know that stories connect on a much deeper level, on a heart-to-heart level. And I was like, well, what if we could take the basic premise of Endless Referrals, which was that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust, and put that into parable form. So I carried around that idea for years, and John David Mann was at the time the editor-in-chief of a magazine I used to write for, a monthly column, and he was a fantastic editor, and his reputation was as a great writer and storyteller. And as I got to know him, I started to say, this guy, if he would work on this with me, we could have a good book here. And so I remember asking John, and when I say asking, I mean pleading with John, the lead writer and storyteller of the book. Again, I'm a how-to guy. I'm step by step. I'm step one, step two, step three, step four. John's a great storyteller. So we got together. We looked at, in choosing the title, we looked at what is the basic aspect or characteristic of those entrepreneurs and salespeople who could very quickly and sustainably create those know, like, and trust relationships. And the fact is, they're givers. They're always looking to give value, add value to others. So the GoGiver was the title we came up with. And then it was, John and I both are entrepreneurs, students of success, have gotten to meet and, kind of hobnob with some very successful people over the years, myself as a speaker and John as a, writer. And we kind of looked at those five, what is it about successful people that they do intuitively or not? They don't always know they're doing it, right? But that they do every single time in order to be successful and sustainably successful. And that's how we came up with the 5 laws.
So, I found it incredibly clever that the title is the Go-Giver, because, the term everybody else uses is go-getter. Like, you're a go-getter, you're a go-getter, you make things happen. But the Go-Giver turns that inside out and upside down in a way that's like, wow, I never thought of a go-giver.
Yeah. So here's the thing with that, because you make a great point. We would say, because people ask, well, are you saying go-getters are now a bad thing? Because I heard you're supposed to be a go-getter. No, we love go-getters. Go-getters are go-getters take action, right? And we all know that you can have the nicest thoughts, best ideas, the greatest of intent, but unless actions put into the mix, nothing's going to happen. It can't happen. So we love the idea of people being go-getters, people of action, and go-givers, people absolutely, totally laser focused on bringing immense value to others. So we would say the opposite of a go-giver is a go-taker.
Ooh, okay.
And that's the person who feels almost entitled, if you will, to take without having added value to the process, the situation, the person. And they tend to not be very sustainably successful. And even those times when they are sometimes, but boy, it takes a lot more work. And typically their relationships are not really as productive and good. And I'm talking personal relationships. And that's when we talk about, being a life in air, that's That's different from being just a millionaire. Now, millionaire is great. We believe we're free market capitalists. We believe that the more value you provide to the marketplace, the wealthier you'll become, which you should. We say money is an echo of value. It's the thunder to value's lightning. But you should be able to be very profitable financially, but also very profitable in the other areas of life that are so important. Sure, there's financial, that's important, but there's financial, there's physical, spiritual, mental, emotional, social, relational. And that's where it's really, important. And that's, the sages of the Talmud asked, who is a rich person? And they answered, that person who rejoices in their lot. And that means they are grateful for everything they have in their life, a family they love and who loves them, the ability to be with good people, to make a good living, to be able to enjoy, to be able to touch, hear, see, taste, smell, in order, to have all the things in life that we really should feel gratitude for. That's what makes one, I would say, a life-inaire, right? Yeah. That's just but you're right though, regarding the go-getter. We are, we position the title against a more, with a pattern a pattern interrupt, we would say in marketing, right? Yeah. Because go-getter, go-giver. But we would say the two of them should be complementary, go-getter and go-giver, but just don't be a go-taker.
Yeah. Right. Well, it's also, I think what it does, it shifts the focus away from you to somebody else, right?
That's it, Peter. That is the premise. The premise of the Go-Giver is that shifting your focus from getting to giving, meaning you're focused on others, is not only a more pleasant way, a more fulfilling way of conducting business. It's the most financially profitable way as well, and not for any kind of way out there woo-woo type of reasons either. It makes rational sense when you're that person who can take your focus off of yourself and place it on serving others, discovering their needs, their wants, their desires, moving from a focus off yourself onto helping solve their problems, moving from you to them, helping bring them closer in their pursuit of happiness. Well, the fact is people feel good about you. People want to get to know you. They like you. They trust you. They want to be in relationship with you. They want to do business with you if that's appropriate. They need what you have. And they definitely want to tell others all about you. They want to be your personal walking ambassador. So yeah, you're right on.
That's awesome. So Bob, I'm wondering, how does somebody, let's say somebody has been brought up in an atmosphere or a business environment that has been like dog eat dog. And it's like, you got to look out for yourself. Maybe they were a trader on a sales floor, or, it was everybody, it was everybody against each other. How do you help somebody overcome the mental barriers associated with feeling like, I can't, it's not about me, to someone else? Because I'm wondering, there seems like it's a big paradigm shift. And some people start off closer than others to that model. And I'm wondering how people can, do you just encourage them to try one of the 5 laws? How do you get somebody in that mindset that this, and I know the heart of the book isn't, hey, give so that you get, it's, we get to give, and it's not some sort of manipulation tactic at all to serve. But how do you get people on board with this mentally, that come from a place of scarcity and competition?
Yeah, it's a great question. And so the first thing is helping that person understand why it's actually to their advantage to take their focus off themselves and focus on others. Now, one of the things I often say when I speak at sales conferences, and I say this jokingly, but we all know it's true. And that is, I'll say, nobody's going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet. And we all laugh because we all know absolutely no one's buying from us because in other words, no one's going to buy from you because you need the money or you want the sale, or even because you're a really nice person. Yeah. They're going to buy from you because they believe that they will be better off by doing so than by not doing so, which, by the way, is great news for the person who can genuinely, authentically focus on that other person. So now it's, how do we explain this to somebody who, again, comes from that the mindset you talked about, the dog eat dog. It's all about, survival. I've got to get my, I would take someone through a scenario. And let's say in this case that, I was the salesperson and you're the prospective customer, and I'm coming in to do a sales presentation for you. Now, I need the money. This GoGiver stuff, focusing on others, that's fine after I don't need the money anymore, right? But right now, I've got to have the money. So I'm going to go in there and my focus is going to be just getting that sale and getting that money, okay? So I'm going to ask you some questions, which, I've been taught to do and which I've got to do. But when you answer, I'm not really listening so much to get what you're feeling and what you're needing. I'm really listening more so that I can figure out how to sharp angle you into a close later on. When you have an objection, I'm a little defensive about it, because this objection of yours is coming between, what's rightfully my money and me, right? I'm closing often. I'm closing early, and I'm continuing to close because there's no question in your mind. I'm not polite and everything, but there's no question. It comes across that, I'm there to make this sale. That's it. Okay. Now, at the end of this presentation, I would ask, are you more likely or less likely to feel comfortable buying from me? And the chances are it would be less likely. Now, same situation, same person. I still need the money, okay, and still have that same mindset, except now there's going to be something different. I'm not going to deny my self-interest because I'm a human being, and as human beings, we are self-interested, and that's okay. Okay. One of my great friends, Dan Rockwell, who writes the fantastic Leadership Freak leadership column, says, self-focus is human, other focus is leadership. Right. So we can know that we're self-interested. Okay. But that doesn't mean we have to let that control us.
Right.
So I'm not going to deny my self-interest, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to willingly suspend it. I'm going to put it to the side so that I can absolutely focus on delivering value to you. So I'm going to go in and ask questions. I'm going to ask discovery questions in order to determine what you need, what you want, what you desire, what your values are, what you're looking to really, truly accomplish. And even as I'm listening, okay, I am going to follow up with questions that dive deeper, because I'm going to realize that as a human being, see the world from my own point of view and you see it from yours. And I may not know exactly what you mean by the terms you use. So I'm going to gently and politely dig deeper and ask you to clarify for me and to make sure I really know. Okay. Now, only after I know that I'm sure I know your needs, wants, and desires, am I going to connect the benefits of my product or service with those needs, wants, and desires. When you have an objection, I'm going to welcome this objection, and I'm going to assure you it's a great question, because in order for us to go, to proceed with this, you need to feel very comfortable with the process. And what I'm going to do is, rather than just supply some standard answer, rehearsed answer to an objection, right? I'm going to dig deeper with you. We're not going to try to overcome an objection. We're going to work within this objection with the customer in order to get to the root cause and figure out what the issue truly is. And then we're going to work together in order to advance the sale. By the time the presentation is really through, the discussion is really through, and I ask you to take action on this idea, I'm simply asking you to agree to do something you've already told me that you want to do. And my question would now be, are you more likely or less likely to want to do business with me? And the answer is probably more likely. And so when we can have a person come to understand this, right? Now this person's ready to see where, well, of course, that makes sense. In a free market-based environment, meaning no one's forced to do business with anyone else, the only reason they're going to buy from me is because they feel there's sufficient value in doing so. And the only way I can communicate that is by truly taking my focus off of myself and focusing on them. And then the neat thing is, not only is it much more profitable for the salesperson, he or she begins to really enjoy the fact that, wow, I'm really helping this person a lot. The money is simply the result. It's the reward for doing so, but I'm really bringing great value. And, as human beings, it's also part of human nature to want to make a difference, to want to feel as though we're adding value, that we're adding more life to all.
Making an impact.
Yeah, making an impact.
Yep.
Well, I love what you're sharing here, because there is, for anybody who's listening, I think there might be some shifts that are happening right now as they're thinking about how to go about, having conversations and being in business and whatever it is that they're looking to do. So my question to you is, because I think the GoGiver book has been very successful in years. I mean, there has been different iterations, and even in our community, a lot of people talk about this book and pass this book. I'm coaching. I recommend this book to my students because I think it makes a tremendous difference on how you operate in life. I mean, think about how you operate with your life, with your spouse, with your kids, with your business partners, with anybody in life. So out of my own curiosity, I'm curious what's brewing in Bob's head. What's next coming? Is there something coming along next, like next level GoGiver or anything like that? Or how does that look?
Yeah, I don't have any more books coming out, but my business partner, Kathy Tajanel, and I have created something we call the GoGiver community. It's actually an online membership community. And it's just been a lot of fun. And what we really want to do with this is have this very, very large community of people all conducting their lives as go-givers, meaning they're coming into this membership focused on providing immense value to others, and they're also open to receiving. And we've got about 250 members right now, and it's growing, and it's just so much fun. So people can actually connect with each other, strategize with each other, collaborate with each other. We've got all sorts of goodies, and we're continuing to add to it all the time. So that's what I plan to be doing for the next 20 years. I'm 64 right now. I plan to do that for the next 20, 21 years, whatever. Then I'll get really serious.
Make it 34 years, right?
Well, how cool to see that in fruition in real life with the people that you really set that, set the bar for these people and provided a place for them to interact and discuss and help and give to each other. It's super cool.
Thank you.
And I love that you've essentially, taken this concept, and you have, the GoGiver Sell More book, you have the leadership, the influencer book, which is phenomenal.
Marriage.
Yeah. And then John and Anna's marriage.
Yep. So, I mean, it's the universality, is that even a word? Universality? I don't know.
Well,
of this principle.
You're just making up words as we go along, man.
It's just staggering. Tell me about, I'm wondering about the, and I can't help but think that as a go-giver, you're going to end up attracting other and influencing other go-givers, because, people like to be around people,
sure,
not only do business with, but be around. Yeah. Are there cases where you've seen go-givers? And my question is, like, have you seen this, and how do they, and if so, how do they kind of handle it? Have you seen a go-giver have a negative interaction with a go-taker, to use your term?
Sure. And
is that something that, like, at some point there is some level of awareness that needs to accompany that generosity and the lack of self focus, to really kind of step back and be like, hey, hold on a second, maybe this isn't fruitful, or maybe they keep pushing and maybe they push through, and eventually that other person comes around to this way of thinking as well. Because I'm also thinking of this in like in a negotiations setting where, and this is not universal, but this example popped up, is where, sometimes you have, in some negotiation books that are like talking exactly about what you talk about, and then other ones are talking about, no, that's it's all shock and awe, and that mentality can manifest in many parts of life. Have you seen those kinds of interactions?
Yeah. So I think it really comes down to a question and a premise. And the question is, as a go-giver, are you setting yourself up to be taken advantage of?
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And so I think it's really important to clarify something. So very important. That is this. There is absolutely no natural connection between being a go-giver, okay, and being a doormat or a martyr or self-sacrificial in any way, okay? Can you be taken advantage of? Well, sure, anyone can be taken advantage of. But my suggestion to someone is, if they feel as though there is a pattern, right? I don't mean once or twice or whatever, because life is life, right? But I mean, if someone finds themselves in a pattern of being taken advantage of, it's not because they're a nice person. It's not because they're a giver. It's because they're doing things in a certain way that is creating the environment for them to be taken advantage of, right? And so the first thing they need to do is ask themselves, why is this happening? Is it a lack of a skill set of knowing how to say no in a kind, tactful way that still honors your own boundaries? Or is there something unconscious going on? Is there a need to be taken advantage of? Is there a payoff in terms of it giving an excuse to not be successful or to have others feel sorry for us? And I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying there's all sorts of things that come into this. But no, being a go-giver simply means you understand, the idea and the benefit of being other focused, but that in no way means that you should ever knowingly, allow yourself to be taken advantage of.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I think someone who's not familiar with the book or the concept in depth may make that erroneous assumption where it means
unfortunately, yeah, Jason, they hear the title, The Go-Giver. Oh, you're just giving yourself away, or a go-giver doesn't care about making a profit. Well, that's silly. Obviously you'd go out of business if you didn't. In fact, I would say a go-giver tends to be much more profitable, yes, because they tend to be at the higher end of the price scale, because a go-giver is selling on high value rather than low price.
Right. I mean, wouldn't you want to work with a company and be a customer of a company who seems like they really care about you? Like they really want the best for you? Well, yeah.
And that's the thing. When really thinking about it, right? That would be the conclusion we come to. But that's just not how it is sometimes in the world, and so that's why we're here to explain.
Right. That's awesome. So, Bob, I know we're short on time. How do people learn more about you, your publications, your contributions, your community? I just can't say enough about what you've done, and I know that people are going to love it.
Well, the first place I would say is just Burg, BURG.com. That pretty much has everything there, from speaking to books to community. If they're interested in specifically looking at joining the Go-Giver community, it would be the Go-Giver community without the hyphen, thegogivercommunity.com. And then scroll down. There's a couple of different packages that you can look at. So, that would be the best way to do it.
Amazing. Well, I want to really thank you for everything you've done, for being on the show, for all the contributions you've made over the years. It's been, Bob, and I know you hear it a lot, but the truth is you've made a big difference. You've made the impact, and you continue to do so. So I really consider this a privilege and an honor, and wish you nothing but the best. Yeah.
The privilege and honor is mine, and what you said really means a lot to me. Thank you so much. And thanks for having me on. It's been a lot of fun.
Thanks, Bob. Dude, that was an awesome interview, man.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's crazy because, read this book a while back, and now I get to talk to the actual author, and there's a lot of wisdom that's coming out of this man. If you really think about it, looking at what he was talking about, the Go-Giver, and how they came about, and the principles. And then we talked about those two different scenarios.
Oh, that was great.
That was a perfect example. But I mean, which one would you rather want to have a conversation with?
And here's the thing, like that was a great example, but it was also an analogy for other parts of life too, right? Like, so, giving first, putting it out there, taking the focus off of yourself, helping people get, achieve what they want to achieve is awesome. I think of the quote by Zig Ziglar. He says, you can have everything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. And it's the same thing here. Like but it's also not with like, you're not doing it in a manipulative, or it's not a strategy. It's not a tactic. It's a way of being. It's just a way of viewing life. It's perspective.
Yeah. A way of life. And there is no expectation. I think that's an important aspect to this whole conversation, because if you give in order to get something, I don't think it's going to work. You got to have no expectation that you're giving. And think about it this way. We talked about having it addressed to when it comes to your spouse or your kids or your friends or whoever it might be, brothers, sisters, and living that way as a go-giver. And you talked about being taken advantage of too, right? And I think he busted that myth pretty quickly, because you start
I'm
looking.
glad he covered that too.
Because it's something that comes up for people, especially for someone who's been burnt in the past, right? And who's maybe more pessimistic than optimistic, or whatever you want to call it. But here's the thing. When you look at those principles and when you start looking at doing it, living this way, your focus shifts on somebody else. And if you actually think about the relationships, like at the beginning, like when you first got married, when you first started dating somebody, it's all about that person, right? You want to do as much as you want for that person. And you don't care what they say, what they do. You just want to give. And then at some point that changes.
Yeah.
Tony Robbins says that marriages would never end up in divorce if we just kept living the honeymoon phase for the rest of our lives.
Treated them like you did in the beginning, there wouldn't be an end.
Right, exactly. So I think the Go-Giver book creates this new way of life that helps you, in a way, get what you really want, because as much, like Zig Ziglar quote that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
I think the operative word there is help them get what they want.
Yeah.
Figure out what they want. And that's the magic thing right there.
Well, and I think it's really important to recognize it's not about being a doormat. It's not about just serving others endlessly without restraint or boundaries. It's about, and it's actually is in your own self-interest in a weird way, because, it helps you. And, we didn't talk about this at all, but I even guess, one of the ways when I went through my divorce, hardest time of my life, I found that by helping and serving others, it helped take the focus off of me. And so if you're someone who's struggling with things and you got a bunch going on and you feel this weight on your shoulders and you're focused on your problems, go help other people, go serve other people. It'll make you feel better. I can't help but also think that we've somehow, by God's blessing, managed to attract a lot of go-givers in the life in our community. And so it's just awesome to see this around us as well, man. So it's just an awesome episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed speaking with Bob. I would encourage you to find out more. If you haven't read the book, please go read it. Trust me. This is going to be you're going to thank us later.
It's a game changer. It's one of those books that creates a game change for your life and your business and anything in between.
If you like the episode, please like, share, and subscribe. And we will see you next week, everyone. Be blessed. Take care.